Huh?
The new business.
Come to order. This is the work session meeting of the River Edge Mayor and Council for Monday, December 2nd, 2013. The time is approximately 7 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by sending notices on December 21st, 2012 to the Record and the Ridgewood News, by positioning notice on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Borough Hall, and filing a notice of this meeting with the municipal clerk. I'd like to remind all members of the public that there are 3 fire exits in the council chambers, 2 to the front and 1 to the back. We are on the record both video and audio. If a member of the public wishes to speak during the public portion of the meeting when we open to the public, all they need to do is give us their name and address, and we will hear them, try to answer any questions that they have, or listen to any statement that they want to make. At 8 o'clock, we will begin our public meeting, and at that time, we'll open to the public again. Let's see, can I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Eckert-Freda?
Present.
Councilman Capola?
Here.
Councilman Ignon?
Here.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Here.
Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mascarotola.
Present. Okay. We don't have any borough administrator topics on the work session agenda this evening. We have the 2014 Green Teams Grant application for discussion. Alan?
Mayor, there was a meeting with Bonnie Stewart, which you were present. We discussed an application to be made by the Green Team for funding a variety of projects, everything from a community garden to the possibility of a farmer's market and some other energy-saving ideas. And the question before the Green Team, and I know they've been in contact with Councilman Mignon, who's the liaison for the Green Team. The question before the Green Team is, should we apply for a $2,000 grant, a $10,000 grant, or a $20,000 grant? It was the opinion of Bonnie Stewart, the chair of the Green Team, that there are enough projects to apply for a $10,000 grant, and frankly, that seemed to be the most appropriate stage. So we wanted to bring this to the mayor and council, see if they were in agreement with the application made at that level for a variety of projects, and go from there.
Okay, do you need any action this evening?
Tonight, just a motion to approve the dollar level of funding, and then we would put a resolution on so that the application could be submitted on a timely basis. Okay. Just see.
Ed? You're allowed to get 2 grants in 1 calendar year. You're allowed to get the $2,000 capacity building grant as well as apply for the $10,000 and the $25,000. In fact, the league, they were encouraging towns to apply for the $2,000 because they had so many left over from the last round. They said they're just basically giving them away. So even if we repeat some broad objectives for capacity building, we should apply for the $2,000 if they want to do a bigger project for the 10, but we should apply for both, I think, because they did make the comment that basically if the town applies for the $2,000 capacity building grant, they will get it.
Okay.
The other ones are much more competitive.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second for the Green Team to submit applications for 2 grants, one for $2,000 and one for $10,000. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, we have a consent agenda. Let me see if I'm looking at the right agenda. The work session agenda was not revised, right? Okay. The work session consent agenda contains 4 items. Would any member of the council want to pull out for separate discussion or consideration any of the 4 items listed on the work session consent agenda? Can I have a motion on the work session consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you. All right, we have a presentation tonight from our library director, and I see that most of our Our library board is present, so I'll call them up.
Did everyone get copies of our... Great.
Can I get one down? Another one? Thank you. Okay.
So basically what we're presenting to you this evening is a strategic plan which we decided was a good idea a couple of years ago. Given the problems that we were having financially and the problems we were having as a result of the lack of finance in meeting the needs of the community. So over the last year we've conducted our research. We have been very thorough. We have placed a heavy emphasis on soliciting and receiving the feedback and the constructive criticism from the public. We used an online survey to do that and an in-person survey. We had over 400 responses to it. We have conducted SWOT analyses with the staff and the library board. We've done our own research and had a look at the numbers from the US Census and figures from the Department of Labour, or the Bureau of Labour Statistics rather. And we've put together a plan that we feel is realistic. It does ask for more help, more resources than we have been receiving in the last 4 or 5 years. To summarise, I would say that the single biggest thing that people are asking us for is for more hours of operation. But as I've tried to point out to you in the last couple of years, we're not adequately staffing the 54 hours a week that we are currently open. So my first priority would be, before we can expand the hours of the library, which people have been very, very explicit in telling us that they want, we would have to make sure that we're staffing the 54 hours a week that we have and that we're doing that adequately. Just to give you an example of how strongly people feel about this, I would say about 75% of the suggestions people had for us for improving service were increasing the hours. People asked for the Wednesday evening hours back, they asked for Saturday hours in the summer, and they're asking for Sunday hours. I'm pretty sure we can't deliver on Sunday hours, but I think with the right support we could easily be looking at increasing our hours and expanding through 9 o'clock on Wednesday evening, and perhaps even offering Saturday morning hours or Saturday hours in the summer, which we've never had before. That would be a very good thing. The second thing that people asked most for was programs. And if you'll see that little graphic that I put on there, people are using the library more and more. The library is busier than it ever has been. And one of the busiest areas that we see is in the area of programs. We're talking about community use of the meeting room, the library programs themselves. So we need to provide more of that. We also have a problem with noise that we'd like to deal with. We also have problems with our collection that we'd like to deal with. We have a population that, if you take a quick look, a quick scan of the figures under the demographics, we have a figure there that's telling 33% of the population speaks a language other than English at home. Okay? And we had an 82% increase in the population of Asian residents between 2000 and 2010. So we need to meet the needs of these new folks better than we have been doing. There's a lot in this. I should also mention the changing needs of students, school students. With me tonight, I've asked the Tri-District Coordinator of Curriculum, Mr. William Feldman, who's behind me here. That's Mr. Feldman. And he's been advising me on the changing needs of school students vis-à-vis the changes to the curriculum, which is shifting towards a more heavy emphasis on teaching kids how to research for themselves. And in order for libraries to do this, and even school libraries to do this, trained personnel need to be on hand, and better collections need to be available to the students than we currently have now. I pointed out to you last summer that we have 2 library assistants on Monday and Tuesday evening, no professional librarian on hand to help the kids with their homework. And this is something that we're expected to do, that people are demanding that we do. And in order to look towards the future and meet the challenges of the future better, we need to have those people on hand to provide the service. So I've given you a lot to think about in this plan. I've tried to spread it over 3 years. We have budget year 1, we're asking for some increases in personnel, part-time personnel that is. Through budget year 2, 2015, we were asking to fill the position that's been vacant for several years of a library assistant for the children's department. Budget 3, we're simply asking for another increase in the operating budget, basically for books. Does anyone have any questions for me? Does anyone on the board want to weigh in on anything I've said?
For those who don't know me, I'm Ann Oxumakaros. I'm president of the board. And I would like to stress that over 400 responses were elicited from members of the community. So what we are proposing is a direct result of what the community is asking for. The hours that they're asking for would largely be restoring previous hours, which have been cut tremendously over the past 3 years as a result, direct result of reduced aid.
Could you talk about the noise problem and what's your plan to address it?
Well, the problem with the noise is we're busier than ever, and people create noise. So particularly, well, it could be really any time of the day, but particularly between 3 and 5 p.m. when you get the numbers in the building swell because of the middle school is getting out and walking down from middle school. But it's not just middle school students, it's adults, it's parents with small kids. It's actually probably Kathleen Murphy, Councilwoman Murphy would know better than anybody because you spend so much time there and your kids yourself are school-age kids.
We're quiet though.
Yeah, it's a problem. The library is just a tremendously busy place. Very often we have no seats available in the house. You drive past the library, I'm sure you've all seen the car park, chock-a-block, street parking only. Well, inside the building you have 100 to 150 people using the service. There are a couple of things we can do. We can provide more programs for the young adults who tend to be, but not exclusively are, the generators of the most severe noise. We can do more for them. We can open up our second meeting room and make it available to the public more often. Perhaps study groups can use it. We're not quite there yet. The meeting room is basically, it was a storage room, we've made it into a meeting room. We haven't got a glass door there. We haven't got proper furniture in there yet. That could be done. And basically, you know, there's no magic wand for this, Mayor. It's a very busy library. And we have a quiet study area. It's not big enough. I would someday like to expand that area, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, because in order to expand that area I would have to take out shelving and add costly furniture.
Matt? Question. You were talking about meeting the needs of the students. What is the relationship currently in dealing with the when I was in school, it was the librarians, but now it's the media
No,
teachers.
we're librarians.
But I think in the high school they call them media teachers. Specialists, okay. In dealing with them at the middle school, the high school, and even at Oradell, since, you know, we have the two towns together, what is the interplay between all of those resources in terms of trying to meet the student needs?
Well, very often, we have a couple of meetings a year with the media specialists on the various, the high school, the middle school, and the elementary schools. They are very much teaching the kids the same things that we'd be teaching them. They introduce the kids, or they're supposed to be introducing the kids to our catalogue, for example, and to the databases that they don't have in the schools that we have through the, you know, the access to a library card. So the communication that we've had in the last couple of years has increased, and it has to. We expect them, we hope that they will give us a heads up when there's a new assignment, for example, and we're getting better results with that. We have a tri-district coordinator of curriculum here. We've met a few times, and we expect to learn a lot more about the curriculum over the next few years. And very often public libraries don't know a whole lot about the curriculum. But we expect to have to improve communications over the next several years in order to do our jobs better.
Just to follow up, and what do you feel as though is lacking from the collection that you need in order to meet the needs of the student population?
Well, our juvenile nonfiction collection, very often we don't have the kind of books that we need. Way too often we have to send people to Paramus or Ridgewood or New Milford or another area library. That's okay, that's a backup plan. It should be only a backup plan. We do it way too often. And I've raised that issue under collection. We are close to doing 40% of our borrowing from other Buckles libraries, which would put us one of the highest borrowing libraries from other libraries than the home library. And that puts us in danger of getting fines from Buckles. And so this is a problem. But forget about the fines for a minute. Think about customer service point of view. Any of you work in the customer service field, we're telling our patrons, our customers, if you will, we don't have what you want, but Paramus does. Okay? That's okay. It's a backup plan. It's a very good plan that we have with Buckles. You know, we can give people a lot more through cooperating with the other libraries. But we need to have what our people want more often in the building for them that day.
Kathleen?
I was mentioning this Buckles, if you could go into more detail about, because that's what concerned me, that we might have to start, we would be getting fined if we became more of a borrowing library than a lending library.
We're already more of a borrowing library. 2:1, I would say.
So, like, can you take us through the scenario? If that this were to happen and Buckles would start fining us? What's the financial...
Think about it this way. We'd be writing a check to Buckles, but really the money's going to the other library through Buckles. Think about how much sense this makes. You're writing a check to another library because they have what we don't have, and we're sending our people to them. Doesn't it make a lot more sense to keep the money ourselves and have the books in our collection?
So what would it take for us to get to that level? Like how many more books or...
Well, I'm asking for a $10,000 increase for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we spend about $45,000 on books. We were all the way up to $53,000 before 2010, you'd say. Because most of our state aid went into books and our state aid got cut, we're down to about 45, 47, 48,000 for books.
So if we were starting to get fined, are you fined per book that you lent? Is it like $1 a book?
No, we'd more like if you go X% above 40%, you could be incrementally fined 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000.
That could add up to that 10,000 you would want anyway.
In fairness, it probably wouldn't add up that high, but I can't imagine it going that high. But it could easily be 1,500, 2,000.
Anthony?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Dara. I go to see you weekly. I'm there weekly, right behind Kathy. I think I'm silver medal. But can you talk about I don't know what this plays in the grand scheme of things or in the future, but e-books or e-readers. I mean, do you see that playing a role, and if so, to what degree? And because my first thing as a business owner, you utilize technology, electronics certainly. So instead of actual physical media, so you can speak to that.
We're actually in pretty good shape technologically speaking. We find that most people can get a computer when they walk through the doors. They don't have to wait, or sometimes, but not very often. They may have to wait a little while.
Well, what about if I want to take out a book?
An e-book.
And I'm ignorant to this, but I mean, I usually when I go, I take a book out. Are there libraries, or in 5 years, 10 years, will I be taking an e-reader out and just there'll be no physical or less physical books at the River Edge Library?
Some libraries are circulating e-readers. Because of our situation with our people resources, I've chosen not to put our time and effort into a program where we're lending out tablets. We don't have the money. We don't have the people to manage that technology. But what we do have is a collection of 10,000 e-books available on Buckles. And we do have lots of volunteers and staff that can teach those volunteers to train our senior citizens how to use their own tablets to borrow books from the library.
So I could use my own tablet if I wanted to?
You can use your tablet, and I'd be happy to show you how.
However, if I may speak, the cost of e-books is not the same as, but not far behind physical books, and then there's a limit to how many e-books. Like we have, maybe Buckles will have 5 copies of an e-book of a bestseller, and when those get charged out in Buckles, River Edge patrons have to wait. It's some perhaps that, sort of backing up a little bit about the actual things whether you had an e-reader or not. I mean, right now you have to have one. And Dara's speaking about the future about borrowing an e-reader, but right now, could you maybe explain the cost involved? I mean, it's not, Buckles does have, and the collection is growing to catch up with, the needs of electronic resources, but it's still a cost to us. And we have,
you think it's marginal?
Yeah, but there's also publishers are putting restrictions on the number of times an ebook can be checked out. So if you purchase like a license, I don't want to make up numbers, but then it can only be circulated so many times. Publishers is of course trying to make money as well, so there's going to be restrictions on circulations of ebooks. And that's all changing, it's all fluid, but there's of course critique for that.
Can I just ask a question that you'll probably answer with that? You said that 10,000 number of ebooks. That's all through Buckles?
Yeah.
It's not, does the River Edge Library have a license itself for?
No, Buckles, the Buckles owns the license.
Okay.
And we buy our e-books through two vendors. 3M is one. We're just rolling out an app for that, for 3M, their new app. In fact, I'm attending a webinar tomorrow on how that works. We also, through a company called Overdrive, and so the technology keeps changing. For example, 3M is better, in my point of view, from where I'm looking, because you can embed the information, the record, in the catalogue. Whereas Overdrive, you have to go separately into a different website and start browsing their website. We would rather have all of our materials, whether they're e-books or print materials or DVDs or whatever, in one central catalogue. So the technology is constantly changing. We have to stay on top of all of that.
How many e-books do we have that are just for, River Edge as opposed to Buckles?
We have no collection exclusively for our patrons, and that's okay. Because our patrons are finding a way to get what they need on the Buckles catalogue, and we will continue buying books, and as long as I have a vote at Buckles System Council, I'll make sure that we steer lots of money towards purchasing as many e-books as people need.
The whole point of the ebook is you want to have it when you need it, and oftentimes you'll go on the system and you'll be on the list, a waiting list for that particular time.
That's why I was asking Buckles versus just, in-house and in River Edge.
A couple of things. First, I have taken out ebooks through the Buckle system. It's very easy, and put it right on the Kindle. And it was very great. And then, of course, when the book's due, it just falls off the Kindle. So, and I understand why we wouldn't be purchasing ourselves, but through Buckles, because it makes no sense. So I totally agree with that, and I understand what you're saying about the catalog. I wanted to ask two questions about your strategic plan. First one's a clarification question. You're asking for a $10,000 increase in 14, and another 10 in 15, and another 10 in 16 from the current overall budget that we currently give you. So what you're saying is that you're hoping that we can find the money to give you exactly the same amount as we gave you last year, plus 10,000. Is that correct?
That's correct. In 2014,
15 and 16.
plus a 10 more,
Yes.
2015, 10 more 2016.
Okay, so that's clarifying. Now the question I have is, and it goes to the noise question, a couple other questions. We're going to be doing major construction on the building. Have you considered that this might impact either hourly work or other needs of the library? Is there an impact to the construction we're going to do that might affect your budget? Have you considered that? And if so, what might that be?
Well, I anticipate closing, at least for part of that, because it may not be safe for our patrons entering the building. Parts of the building may not be safe to be in. I'd imagine right over the circulation desk there, when we're talking about the clear story, replacing all the glass there. But parts of the building we may very well be able to work in.
Okay.
That's a possibility. We may be able to tackle projects that badly need to be taken care of, such as weeding the collection, reorganizing, stuff that we never get to do.
So you're anticipating that you might be closing to the public, but keeping the staff on and doing all of those things that you don't normally
The other
get to do.
possibility is, remember, if we're closed, River Edge residents will be going to Paramus, New Milford, all the other areas, Oradell, and they will be borrowing, using their Buckles cards from those libraries.
And
that isn't going to make us very popular with the other towns, and so we may very well want to send some of our very talented staff to those other libraries to help out. Where they will learn a lot about how other libraries do their work, and maybe bring back some good ideas to our library.
And if we did that, would Buckles give us a credit towards that 40%, number, or would that simply be a goodwill gesture that you're contemplating?
That's a goodwill gesture, and that's, of course, a gesture that's been extended to us many times in the past.
So we've received support from librarians.
We've received staff, not financial support, staff.
Yeah,
from other libraries.
I see. That's good to know.
So, one way or the other, River Edge residents, despite the construction, will have service if not in their own home library, in the library close by.
But you don't foresee any sort of other line item cost during the construction, either by way of buying tarps or anything else? You're assuming that it will be revenue neutral.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Peter.
Thank you. Mr. O'Connor, Anna, how are you? The construction issue, I think we could and should consider maybe staggering the hours, because normally construction activities will take place between 7, 8, and 3 p.m., especially where we have to use prevailing wage contractors or union contractors. Those are strict union hours, and we certainly don't want to go into overtime. So we should start thinking about opening the library after 3. A lot of this will also be done front end before construction starts. I'm sure there'll be meetings to coordinate construction activities, once we know who the contractor will be
We could
with the
certainly,
library.
we could certainly consider a schedule for the periods.
You have to, and I think for the health, safety, and welfare of the public, which is something we swore about a long time ago, if you have people in the building with work going overhead, that's not a good mix. Then those people would have to wear hard hats. So I'm not sure that we're ready to go there. I think we should really consider opening up the library during that critical 4 to 6 weeks period when the actual roof will be replaced and when the windows will be taken down and the new one installed, to adjust the schedule accordingly. And if there are days that the library needs to be closed, again, health, safety, and welfare of the public, then so be it. So, now more of another question. The needs of students, how are they different from the needs of the general public? And specifically students, we could even isolate middle school and high school students.
Well, I would, I'm going to ask my friend from, who's an educator, to talk maybe about the Common Core standards, and what do you envision the public, yeah, come on up. William Feldman, folks, once again. And I can tell you what I see every day, and I'm seeing the shift already from the kind of homework assignment where I need books about dinosaurs to I need you to help me figure out how to find a book about I don't know, science experiments.
So
One of the
maybe before you respond, if you allow me, let me do part B of the question so you have it all in front of you.
Okay.
A few years ago, about 6 years ago, we started the one-to-one laptop initiative at the high school. And last year that was expanded to the middle school. So students, as well as teachers and administrators, are given a laptop at the beginning of the year, fully insured and everything. So what kind of research these students have to do at the library that they couldn't do in their home using the officially issued laptop? So that's the question, yeah. Because he expressed concerns about students overcrowding, becoming noisy, affecting operations, affecting other patrons. So please.
Research in the traditional sense means that you're doing a research report and you're looking up information about dinosaurs, for instance. Research with the shift in the Common Core means something a little bit different. It also means synthesizing multiple sources together in developing a point of view. So for instance, if you're reading about the Civil War, and then you're reading about a nonfiction piece, a book about someone's experience in the Civil War, the student would have to be able to get information from the book that they read and get information from a resource like an encyclopedia, let's say, and synthesize the two. So I see the partnership with the library as something different, that if the library knew the types of research or the types of books or topics that the students were learning about, then they could provide the nonfiction text. That could be in addition to, like a book, like a novel, that could be in addition to, you know, database type of research that they would have access to, as you're explaining.
And students do not have access on their school laptop to these references?
Not for novels, not for books. They have them for databases, but they can't, you know, read a book written by an author and read that book and get the point of view of the author. So it isn't research in the sense that you're looking up things. It's research in the sense that you're gathering different perspectives from different authors. And those libraries in the schools are limited in their nonfiction books. The other thing that's different with the shift in the Common Core is the Common Core is trying to prepare students for college. So what they're trying to have students do is gain information through reading. When you typically have gone to school in the past, you know, the teacher lectures, they give you notes, you copy down the notes. Now they're asking students to read independently from a source and get information because it's viewed as a very important college skill. So this whole idea of going to different books and reading different perspectives could happen not only in research, but it could happen just if you're learning about Lincoln, instead of talking about it, you have to write a book, you have to read a book about it, and then you have to bring that information in. So I see the library as an opportunity to increase the number of resources that students would have available through books.
So, to me, Common Core standards are like the minimum that the state has set for all high schools to come up to that bar. At Riverdale, we have always, and the two sending district, we've always strived to go above Common Core standards that normally translate into offering dynamic electives, not these electives that have been on the books since I went to high school, way back when. That said, with you there, and I certainly don't envy your job, all the books that become part of the core could be known beforehand. In other words, we could have a list of, I don't even want to use the word approved text, but we could have a list of reading books issued by the various teachers, and then everybody knows already up front what's coming. And maybe Mr. O'Connor can even prepare himself a little better by knowing what the students will be looking at. And I think that with your overall idea of aligning curriculum K through 12, and I'm not sure where we're at right now, but that certainly seems to be a doable task. Do you agree, disagree? I mean, is it part of your job description, or is this new territory that...
Well, one of the things that when you first talked about the Common Core, you're talking about the standards being higher. The Common Core is just a recent thing.
Yeah.
We haven't really fully adopted the meaning behind it. You know, to get all students college ready is a monumental goal. But it really just calls for a whole shift in the way that we teach and the way that we learned. I mean, in high school, even in elementary school, it wasn't such that a teacher would give you a book and then you would have to read the book and get information from that book. What you were used to is the teacher would tell you, it would speak to you through their verbal communication about what are the important things for you to remember. So that is a major shift in what we're trying to do educationally, and it really finds a place for the library because that's really the source of literacy, the source of books. So when you were talking about, you know, the high standards, yes, Riverdale does have high standards, and they're in the forefront of technology, and they have these elective courses. But it's a subtle pedagogical shift to direct students to reading books as opposed to listening to a teacher. And so that is something that I'm here tonight to talk about, that, you know, I'm trying to, you know, move it forward. But, you know, this idea of college readiness starting in 3rd grade is a very new idea. You know, you know, whoever were the thinkers of this Common Core said, okay, this is what you need to be successful in college. How do we build that starting in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade? And they scaffolded those skills up. That's very new. It's a very new way of approaching education.
Do middle school kids get issued computers?
It's not one-to-one. They have like a set of...
So they don't take them home, right?
No.
So my observation at the library, it's mostly middle school kids, not really a lot of high school kids. So that's why they would need to come there and utilize computers.
Well, see, even if they have access to a computer at home...
Janet Boyd would like to say something too.
Sorry. Okay, so even if they have access to a computer at home, we're fond of saying in the library profession, Google can give you 5 million questions to your answer. A librarian can give you the right answer. And so what's missing at home is a librarian. So you need to be in the library to work with a librarian. This is what we're in the business of doing. This is what we do all the time anyway. We just need to make sure that we're on the same page as the schools in figuring out what it is, how we can best meet the needs of students and their teachers.
Mayor?
Yes. And then,
Oh, yes.
Janet Boyd.
Well, I was thinking, Sarah, that's where I was going. Laptops are tools.
They are.
They're little, you know, you can, they're
They are.
electronic. But the reference librarians can say, you're working on a paper on the Civil War. We have databases in history with legitimate research. And we have multiple points of view, or you can go on ProQuest, or you can find it, and here are the search terms, and here's the, you know, Library of Congress has, you know, established ways to do research. You can't do that at home. They're going to go on Wikipedia, they'll go on Google, they're going to find all kinds of garbage. But that's apart from all the core talk. The idea is that the reference librarian is educated and can give the students the skills they need. Most of the students who have laptops from in high school also have access to computers at home as well. So even that can be considered in some ways redundant. But I really, as someone who's a college educator, is very concerned about the types of advice, the types of guidance students get at the middle school and high school level about the resources, but also finding them, right? I've never heard that Google comment before about 5,000 questions to your, and that's fabulous because they're overwhelmed. And so the real push now is for information literacy, and that is what the librarians provide that is invaluable.
The other shift to the Common Core, which you reminded me of, is that it also requires that students do literacy work in social studies, in science, in the technical subjects. So in the middle school this year, you know, the students are doing a research paper in their health class. They're doing a research paper in social studies, in science, and the other technical subjects. So this push to literacy is happening across the content areas, which is also mandated by the Common Core, which is different than what was required in the past. Normally, those activities were reserved for your language arts class, maybe your social studies class, but now it's
so pretty much every subject area we need to have the stuff in our collection, and we need to be familiar with what the assignments are typically going to be.
Tom?
Oh, I think Vito was up.
No, just, guys, don't misunderstand me. I was part of originating all these programs. I want to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts, and I want to make sure that the library, when I use the word wakes up, but I don't mean it literally, both the River Edge and the Oradell libraries, they both wake up, and they become an integral part of your search to unify the curriculum. So we have a wonderful opportunity. If I've heard that technologically we're up to speed, which pleases me a lot, let's take it a step further then. Let's go past the council chamber and all. And let's make sure that at least the patrons that go to school are well served to the best we can. And your presence here certainly is a testimonial to a commitment to that effort. That's all. So I'm just trying to avoid duplicating where we don't have the resources. Thank you, Tom.
So I'd just like to
Tom?
add a comment. You know, I teach 6th grade. I've taught grades 4 through college. Taught at Dominican College for a number of years. And one of the things about the middle school student is that they may appear to be developmentally more than they are. And smart research and smart working is not necessarily a skill they have. So having a reference librarian and having the right resources and be directed to them and help to weed down the search is a crucial part of their success. You know, we do that in the classroom where we take, you know, children who are very enthusiastic and have a very broad, oh, I want to go do this, I want to do that, and help them weed down to a topic sentence in there, and then look for a main idea and supporting. And that sort of support is necessary. So I see how having not only the right materials, but also having the reference librarians offer the critical screening ability so that they can screen out what the student doesn't need from what they do need is an essential part of success for that mandate of your mission. So I agree that it's very important, especially now. I mean, I'm very much teaching literacy. Half the time I'm teaching social studies in the 6th grade, and science too. Looking at text features, text structures, looking for point of view of the author, what's the author's bias, what fictional or non-fiction book might lend a different perspective, and therefore the student is not learning in a monolithic way, but in a broad way, and then bringing all that together with a synthesis and analyzing. So I understand what you're saying, and I agree with it.
Just, I don't know what action the council will take with your budget come next year, obviously. But I think although what Vito said in duplication of services, you actually do need some duplication of services, because the school classroom and library they close at 3:05, and you need the students to be able to go somewhere after that where they can get the knowledge and the resources that they need. I'm not a big fan of the core curriculum. I don't think one size fits all for everyone is really the right approach, but the ability to read is the number one essential thing to learning. Anybody who's been a history or a political science major in college knows you go to the library or you go to the bookstore that first day, they go, oh, here's your syllabus for the year, and it's $6, for one class that you're going to have to read and digest that semester, as opposed to, in high school you're going to get 6 books for, the entire year for every subject. So I do definitely think there's a role for the library to provide those sources, especially with the reference librarian. So to the extent that you can work together, and it seems that way, and even bring this to, go to the Board of Ed and talk to them as well. And if there's any opportunity to do like with the Library of Congress, every time a book gets, copyrighted, you get a copy. So if they're ordering a book for the Board of Education, perhaps they can order a book or 2 extra for our library as well, so that we have what they have. And I think that would be, helpful.
Even a step further, we have a unique situation here. Mr. Feldman has access to all 3 superintendents. In fact, they have special meetings where it's just the 4 of them. I'm sure an agenda item could be the integration of resources at both towns' library into the curriculum resource center. So it's not like
you're saying times 3.
Yeah, it's not like Mr. O'Connor has to go cold turkey to each superintendent. I mean, we have a unique situation here.
Sure.
So let's go.
But to the extent we can get the Board of Ed on board and
Yes, of
work
course.
with them and make sure that they appreciate the situation, it's always good to knock on the door.
I just have one more thing to say. We do have an author here, Sindri Khatri, Pomegranate Blooms. Her book will be available at the River Edge Library very soon. Congratulations.
All right, well, I want to thank you for all of the hard work in putting together your strategic plan. Thanks both to Dara and to the Board of Trustees of the library. And thank you, Mr. Feldman, for appearing and instructing us on the core curriculum and how that could be integrated into our public library. We will put this plan with our 2014 budget materials and review it again in the next few months.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I still like books more than... I still like books. And they've done studies, though, that, touching it, the page, the more senses you affect when you're reading, the better your retention.
Nobody here to speak about the historic funds, historic preservation fund grant?
Yeah.
No, Mayor. The only thing I
you
can
can't tell
add to the memorandum that was issued
issued.
that we're looking at a $9,000 grant opportunity through the Certified Local Government Grant and Aid Program. There's no match required by the borough. Both Phyllis Angelo, Chair of the Historic Commission, Dara was present, as well as Mary Donahue as a commission member. And they're all seeking to take our collection, which is currently spread out between the library, Borough Hall, and the Cultural Center, and catalog it, put some of it to digital wherever they can. The library, as you see by the plan, is looking to try and create some space for the collection. And this grant would help us purchase some software and hire a consultant to actually do those things for the borough.
All right.
So with that said, I think there's a resolution that'll be required, if not tonight, then on the 16th, and we'll go ahead and get that application together.
Do you need a motion to put the resolution on?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? No. Okay, unfinished business. Does anybody have anything under unfinished business?
Discuss, I would like to.
Yes.
I saw that we did get the utility audit partial back, so we did see a savings of some money. Do you have an update as far as the electric or the
No, I have nothing on the electric. That was only on the
The
telephone
telephone,
and
mhm.
Verizon.
Have they let you know, did they let you know when we might expect the others to come out?
No, but I'll ask those questions.
And then the HVAC and the roof. What's Mr. Polici's revised schedule?
I don't know. I believe we have a resolution on to award the contract to the mechanical engineer for the library HVAC. So as soon as that goes out to them, then I'm sure they'll begin the specification project, specifications for those projects.
That's it.
That's it?
Oh, I'm sorry, one other thing. We do have Mr. Grasso here, so I would like to know about that. The question, if you had moved forward with the
Any word from your bank?
I haven't spoken with the bank yet. I spoke with my attorney. He had a couple issues as far as, I'll tell you my own viewpoint and then what the attorney said.
Would you rather that your attorney speak to our attorney, since it's a matter of contract negotiations?
I guess that could be done. His main concern was, as well as mine, the steps that, we discussed at the last meeting, leading up to Chinderkamak. My own feeling is one of two things. Either it would have to be redone, or like you suggested, they would have to be closed off.
Can you just have him send me a letter explaining what the concerns are, and then I can address it to the mayor and council?
Okay.
And then give him a call.
Just
At least we'll start the process.
It's just the steps issue that has to be addressed.
Is that it?
The
The
steps
steps?
issue, the other issue he had, which I spoke to him on the phone today, was the way, he said there should be something written in the easement as far as the maintenance and repair of the, area of the easement that's left. He phrased it was up in the air that, if there was any repair work or maintenance to be done in the easement, who would be responsible.
All right. Reasonable. Okay.
So those
Any other-
two things, and then we'll...
Just have him send me a letter or have him give me a call and we'll start the process.
Any other unfinished business? I see we have Mr. DeMauro in the council chambers. I know that I'll let our attorney report on his request for an appeal and the steps that we have to take.
The Tomorrow Towing applied for the 2014 towing list. That's Chapter 382 of your ordinance. The police department denied them a towing license for 2014, specifically on Chapter 382-3A1C, on the basis that any towing operator or principal that's convicted of a crime or any offense involving moral turpitude may act to disqualify them. Based on that, the police department denied them the license. We received a letter from DeMauro Towing appealing the police department's decision, which is the right thing to do under the ordinance, or the only thing to do under the ordinance. The ordinance requires that any disqualification may be waived by the borough upon the showing of good cause. So my suggestion would be that the mayor and council hold a hearing, an appeal, allow Demorro Towing to provide any evidence or witnesses to state their case and to hear from the chief, and then you guys can make a decision whether you want to reverse the police department's decision in denying them a license and granting them a license for 2014. This should be done, obviously, prior to 2014 because it affects the towing thing. So I would schedule this as soon as you possibly can.
All right.
There was also they provided me, Demorro Towing provided me with a CD. I believe it's from one of the audio transmissions of the police department that led to the conviction. I don't know if this can be played here, if you have the ability, or if it would have to be circled about.
Is it a CD?
I believe it's a CD. It's from the police department. So I don't know if we have this equipment here to...
Somebody else's laptop.
You've listened to it.
I have not listened to it. So we could try it and then see and do that. If not, I just want to have everyone hear it then prior to. If it works, great. If not, then we'll have it prior to. And then it would be to provide any witnesses and the documentation that you want this mayor and council to decide. And we'll also have the chief available and anybody that the chief feels and any documentation that the chief wants the mayor and council to support his decision. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
The Demorro handles also AAA calls. So if we're forbidding him, the police department denied renewing his license to do towing in town.
Towing not in town, to do towing on behalf of the borough.
Oh, towing on behalf.
That's correct.
Okay.
We cannot restrict them from tow in town.
I'm
The
very
borough
happy.
has a rotating list of towing companies they use to tow vehicles.
Now I understand.
So
that.
they're now disqualified for the River Edge towing list.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification.
Your towing ordinance is 382.
Dash 3.
I know, I have-
Dash 3 is the towing operator qualifications.
All right, well,
And
let's...
1C is what is going to be what you're going to focus on.
So I make a motion to put it on for the 16th with everything in place.
The thing is, if the hearing with the tapes and witnesses are going to take more than an hour, then we should start the meeting earlier so that we don't run into problems with our regular agenda. That's what I would recommend.
Mayor, we have a finance committee meeting at 6 o'clock to start the budget process with the finance committee and citizens.
Well, it has to be done before 2014, so.
Yeah, obviously it should be done for fairness to Demorro
The
Towing.
work session, the last work session, Mayor, or do you think that's too early?
When is that?
23rd?
The 23rd?
December 23rd?
Can a hearing be done and an appeal the same day?
I'm sorry?
A hearing?
This is the appeal.
This is the
This is
appeal.
their appeal. They were denied, this is their appeal.
Okay.
So, their appeal is basically a hearing to it. And, you guys gotta, whatever they want to present, you guys gotta consider based on also with the chief. I don't know if it'll take that long. I mean, how many witnesses do you have? How many people do you want to testify, or?
Well, I just want to explain what had happened. I mean,
Not now, I'm just trying to get as to how much time do you think you would
you don't need
need?
much time at all, it's just very simple.
I don't think the chief's gonna need much time.
Can we get it done in a half
There was
hour?
there was a hearing in court, though, right?
No.
In our court?
No, this is it.
The hearing in court was
decision.
the resulted in a criminal conviction, or a violation of an ordinance.
But
Based on that, the chief has denied them the towing license.
I understand
Okay.
that, but I mean, won't the record from the municipal court be evidential
Sure.
in this case?
Absolutely.
We'd have to request a copy of the transcript.
I think it was a plea, or it was a plea, it was
There
no
was a plea,
trial.
there was no-
It's just a
There
straight
was no-
guilty.
was there any trial before Judge Safro?
No.
There was no trial?
I was part of the story.
Yeah, but don't say anything. Were you represented by an attorney in court?
No.
No? Okay.
It was a plea to a borough ordinance.
All right.
The borough ordinance in here, in the
pled to prohibited acts, 453-2.3.
Is the borough ordinance in the Cal ordinance?
No, it's a different ordinance.
Yeah, it's a different ordinance, correct.
That's my point. The reason why I'm appealing it is because the ordinance is in here.
Well,
That's what I found out.
I know, but we'll hear you when we do the hearing on the appeal. We'll hear your argument.
So what are we going to do here? 7 o'clock?
Well, we could, if we can't have the hearing at 6 because of the finance committee meeting, then we could call a special meeting for this appeal. Or we could put it on some other time. I mean, our borough attorney says...
Have it on the work session, and whatever business isn't completed at the work session, we carry that on to the next work session. That's all.
Yeah. Because I don't want to come next day. I don't know everybody else does either. 'cause we
Start it
already
at
have a
7,
busy
and then if we don't
schedule.
finish whatever business we have in the work session, we just carry it to the
Don't we
next
have
work
3
session.
more sessions after this one?
No.
Two.
2. We have
And
the
then Sunny
23rd
Day.
and the
16th.
16th. And then we have the Sunny Day.
No, Sunny Day is going to be right before New York.
Yeah.
Oh, does everybody want to have it on the 16th at 7
Yeah,
o'clock?
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
I have a motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mrs. Morris, see you on December 16th, 7 p.m.
This is your notice. You're not going to receive any written notice.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
Thank you very much. You said it was 453 what?
-2, -3.
Any other unfinished business? No, we're not open to the public. I'm only doing unfinished business. All right, can I have a motion open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Would any member of the public like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Give us your name and address. What?
339 Fifth Avenue. I just have a couple of questions about the sidewalk replacement. I got a letter in the mail the other day. So I'm just going to ask you the questions and maybe you could answer them. I guess we don't have a choice here. In other words, we have to have the sidewalk replaced whether we want it or not, because I had my sidewalk replaced about 12 years ago and there's nothing wrong with my sidewalks. So I don't have a choice. So now the next question is, do you know yet who's going to be doing the work? And then also, will my sidewalk, will the apron for the driveway be the same as it is now? Because I have a curb at the end of my driveway, and I want to have a curb because it's easier for me when I shovel snow and stuff. So you know what that's going to be?
If you
Because I
drop-
want it the same way it is now.
If you drop us a note, I'll forward it to the borough engineer, who can take a look at it and see whether, it should be rebuilt the same way, or whether it has to conform to a different standard, a federal highway standard, so.
Okay, do you know when the work will be done?
It won't be done until the spring, probably. We'll probably bid it out over the, over January or February, with an award towards the end of February, and then the work will commence in the spring sometime.
So will you let the people, the homeowners, know that they're going to be coming to lift the sidewalks up?
Yes, usually we provide notice that they mill the street, or they'll, usually there's a pre-construction meeting, and there's the opportunity to explain the project to the residents.
Okay, and then, in the end, if the residents are not happy, I guess they come here and complain. Because I've seen sidewalks done over and they look like crap when they're done. So my sidewalk looks nice now, so when it's finished being ripped up and redone, I want it to look as nice as it looks now.
You could take a look at the sidewalks on Howland and Continental Avenue. Those are similar projects that we've had DOT funding on, and this project is anticipated to meet the same standards. So I would take a look at what we've done in Howland or Continental Avenue for the type of work.
All right, and should I send a little note to you about the...
Yeah, drop it
Okay.
off to me, and I'll get it to the borough engineer, so he can evaluate what you have now and, what the expectation is.
Okay. All right, thank you
And
very much.
Mrs. McMahon, just take a picture of your sidewalk before and after, so that if there's any problem, you have photographic evidence of what it looked like before.
All right, okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else wishes to speak?
Yes.
Give us your name, please.
My name is Joan Rickard, and I live at 285 Wayne Avenue, the corner of Fifth Avenue. I got the same information as Mrs. McMahon,
On October 13th of this year, my husband and I just spent $3,500 to have our sidewalk fixed so that there's no problem as far as safety with any residents walking on our property. There were 10 new of the white concrete blocks placed on Fifth Avenue, so they are less than 2 months old. We have 11 across the front for a total of 21 blocks. Right now, there are 10 of the old concrete slabs that were there forever. They are fine. Of course, they don't match in color. I did see the slabs that were replaced on Howland Avenue. They're all, very similar. They did all the slabs. My concern is now that we have paid all this money for our concrete slabs to be replaced, is the company going to come and rip them up and just do that, the whole walk, which means I'm losing 10 blocks that I've already paid for that are less than 2 months old? Or would they leave my white ones in place and just do the 10 that we did not have replaced on Fifth Avenue, which are fine, they are not cracked, they're even. And as far as the information in the letter on being assessed for the work being done, since we've already paid that much money out of our own pocket, I was wondering what you're going to do about the assessment. Is there any plan for that? Or, as Mrs. McMahon said, are you just going to rip up everything that's there, which means you're going to take up my blocks that are less than 2 months old, or what?
Alan?
If you would again be so kind as to lay that out for me in a letter, I'll give it to the borough engineer. He'll review it. These current slabs may be satisfactory. He may decide to leave those alone, depending on how they'll match up with the rest of it. And we'll put it to an engineering evaluation. If he says they will remain, then the assessment would have to be adjusted for that consideration, because the assessment is based on the amount of lineal footage that you have in front, which goes to the benefit derived for the work. So just drop us a note here at Borough Hall. We'll get it to the borough engineer, and we'll get some, feedback from them before the construction actually starts and before the project is specifications and plans are put together.
And to whom should I address that letter?
You can address it to Alan Negri and the borough administrator, and we'll be sure we get it to the borough engineer for a look.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Yes?
Yes, hi, Ian Ames, 326 Howland Avenue. This is regarding the same letter that I received on the sidewalk repair. I just have a question, because I have a paver driveway that extend all the way to Fifth Avenue. Are they going to be replacing? Are they going to leave my paver the way it is and not, replace it with the curb, with the concrete?
It's a good question. Again, if you can give me a note, we'll give it to the borough engineer and try and get an answer for you.
Okay. Secondly, on the letter here, the last sentence, it says, in addition, once the project is complete, a special hearing will be held by the tax assessor prior to any bill being sent to you. What is that assessment? What does that mean? Is my tax going to be increased because of?
This is if I may, Mayor, this is a special assessment, so it doesn't have anything to do with your property tax assessment.
Okay.
But the assessor does do an evaluation of the costs of the project. In this case, it would only be the engineering costs to design and inspect the sidewalk curbs and driveway aprons, and apply that to the amount of lineal footage that has been approved. So when the project is complete and all the costs are in and the work has been done, then those costs are looked at. There's a hearing here with the assessor prepared to answer questions, and you have the right to come and dispute the amount of footage or the work that has been done, and before an extra bill would go out to you for that work, the mayor and council would have to approve that in the form of a resolution.
Okay.
So this would be a special bill that would be provided to you for that work. And I think the estimate that we provided to you shows that it might be a few $100s for this sidewalk replacement.
The estimate.
It's likely that it's going to be very close to those numbers, but things happen, you know, we've had issues raised about, you know, not all of the sidewalks being done, so that could change some of the formula slightly. But that's a pretty good estimate as to what your ultimate costs would be if this project went to completion. But again, send us your name and address in a letter.
Right.
We'll have a borough engineer perform an inspection and to do a report on exactly what changes, if any, would be required for your property. Okay?
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi. They took all my questions, so I just want to introduce myself. Robert Gilmartin from 359 Fifth Avenue. And to the extent I have a few unanswered questions, I think at this point I know what I need to do, so I'll be sending in a note and follow up accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. Gilmartin. Can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adjourn the work session and start the 8 o'clock public meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I'd like to call the 8 o'clock public